Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Gavin Berry, standing in for your regular host Daniel Caw, who's enjoying a well-earned day off. But I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by three colleagues, well, two just now, soon to become three, who make this job so much easier, and they're scattered all over the continent ahead of a huge week of European action for three of our clubs. With Craig Swan standing there at Celtic Way, well ahead of the big kick-off for Celtic's Champions League clash with Belgian side Club Brugge. And as he stands there shivering, he must be looking on with envy. Or I was going to say he must be looking on with envy at Fraser Wilson, who's in Bruges. Sorry, I've been building up for that one as well.
Lost your lines. Well done, Gavin.
Tumbleweed.
Tomorrow, folks. All the best.
Just as well, Daniel Caw's coming back tomorrow. Anyway, that was a terrible joke. But Fraser Wilson's in Bruges for anyone who's seen the movie. But you're not envious, are you, Swan? Because it looks as if he's shivering over there as well. But Andy Newport will soon be joining us from the French Riviera. He's making his way to Nice Stadium just now, and I'm sure the weather will be much better where he is. So when he logs on, we'll see that. But we'll start with you, Craig. The big one, Celtic Club Brugge, just a few hours away. I was going to say the atmosphere building, obviously not. It's too early. Anybody around just now at all, no?
There's loads of works vans across the road there on London Road making their way home from work, but no, there's a few fans milling about. You know what it's like. There's a lot of people getting here early, so there's already some people here. And listen, it won't take long for the atmosphere to build up here. A good couple of hours before kick-off, this will be packed outside waiting for the team bus to come. And there's so much anticipation around Celtic Park, Gavin. There has been pretty much since the final whistle went in the Leipzig game. Here, everybody's just really excited about the way Celtic are progressing in Europe, and there's an opportunity here tonight. Although it will be tough, there is an opportunity here to go and press home this great start that they've made. So everyone's really excited about it.
And we know, Craig, how well Celtic have performed in the Champions League this season. But I mean, last night we see Atalanta hammering young boys 6-1. I mean, that just underlines how good that 0-0 draw is. I think that's the only game that Atalanta haven't won in their last 11 was that 0-0 draw. I think I read that earlier today. So that just goes to show. And then, of course, the win over Leipzig last time out. Brendan Rodgers spoke about how, everyone will think this will be a cakewalk because of that. But do you think that in itself presents a different mental test to these Celtic players?
Yeah, I think it does. I think that to some extent there was expectation around the game against Slovan Bratislava on the opening night, because that was a game that a lot of people looked upon as a big chance for Celtic to go off to a flying start. But they were massive underdogs in Dortmund, and the result went, well, we know how the result went, but as you have alluded to there, Gavin, there was, it's been happening all the way through the tournament. I think Borussia Dortmund lost 5 goals themselves in a half against Real Madrid. Your 6-1s last night, Atletico Madrid won 6-0. These things can happen on these nights. And the way Celtic have recovered from that has been sensational. The trampoline effect, as Brendan Rodgers called it. But again, they were underdogs, not expected to get much from the game in Bergamo against Atalanta. In many respects, again, it was if not underdogs, a 50-50 game at home to Leipzig. But they performed so brilliantly that a lot of Celtic supporters are now turning up tonight expecting a result, and that's not something that Celtic have had. Listen, Celtic are expected to win all. I know that's the cliche, you're expected to win all games, but at Champions League level it's slightly different. There's maybe a little bit more hope than expectation in some of these matches, but I feel an expectancy tonight amongst the Celtic supporters. I think that will be there, and that's something that the players are going to have to deal with. But they've dealt with most things that's been thrown at them in this competition so far, barring obviously the night in Dortmund. But I agree with what Brendan Rodgers said yesterday, and I believe it will take a performance of the levels of the Leipzig performance to get a result here tonight, because Bruges are not from a top league and they're not one of the illustrious teams, if you like, they've got a pretty impressive pedigree themselves. They score plenty of goals, the same as Celtic do, as we saw from 7 at the weekend. So Celtic will have to play well to win this game tonight.
Yeah, well, there's Kevin Carson contacted us, Arnie Engels to start, Celtic to win 3-1. We will progress to the knockout stages. Hail, hail. And then Muzza 2023. This is the type of game most fans think is a 3-pointer, but it's not. It's a Champions League match. We need to be right on the ball to get the win. So a bit of a contrast there in how those two fans see the game going. The second one obviously talked a bit like we were saying, need to be cautious, no room for complacency. But Kevin seems to be ultra confident.
I think Celtic are in a position, we touched on it last night on Hotline Live, that sometimes you go into European matches and it's, if not last chance saloon, you're under the gun. You're always under the pressure to get a result, whether it's a two-legged game or whether you need points. Or Celtic, I would say, are ahead of the game, points-wise, at this stage. 7 points for the 4 games that they've had. And also, again, as we spoke about, apologies for repetition, but when you look to this group at the start, the home games were seen as being vital. And taking 10 points from the home games was looked upon as, that's a realistic target. And I think most people looked at Bruges, Young Boys, and Slovan Bratislava as the 3 wins. And if Celtic can get a point from Bundesliga Leipzig, that's great. That's 10 points. That's fantastic. Celtic are 2 ahead of that just now.
Yeah.
Getting the victory over Leipzig. And I just think what that does tonight is, I don't think they have to play on edge. I think they can play with a little bit of comfort tonight. There's no where it to go wrong for them tonight. It's not all over. They're still well in the mix to qualify. I think that helps. That's going to help them relax a wee bit. And especially, listen, there's going to be periods of the game when they're going to be under pressure. It's a Champions League game. There's going to be periods when Bruges are going to have the game. And there'll be no need for Celtic to panic.
Yeah.
And showing against Leipzig that they can cope with a setback as well, which was another massive step in the right direction, to come back and win a game from losing the opening goal. So I just think there'll be a wee bit more comfort around the Celtic players tonight. If they play like they did against Leipzig, I mean, to perform in that situation the way they did, if they can replicate 90% of that, it may well be good enough. But they will have to. It'll have to be 90-95% of what they did against Leipzig. Maybe even exactly the same if Bruce turn up and play as they can. So I think it'll be a cracking game.
Fraser, I know the Hearts press conference will be starting soon and you'll be speaking to Neil Critchley and a player, so I don't want to keep you too long, and I see you're absolutely freezing there, so I'm feeling a wee bit sorry for you, actually.
That's a first.
I feel a bit sorry for you. But the first big question is, have you sourced a pub to watch the Club Brugge Celtic game tonight with the locals?
Aye, the Club Brugge fans, aye. It's so bizarre standing here talking about this game in Glasgow while stood in Club Brugge Stadium. I just feel like I've turned up in the wrong city. But stunning city, by the way. But yeah, we'll be watching it.
And actually, Swanee, bizarrely, you were there early in the season, weren't you, when they played Kilmarnock? So you've been there.
Pretty much sitting in the seat where Fraser's standing, I think. Yeah, I was there early in the season, yeah.
And have you got any pubs that you can recommend?
Loads, but it's only half an hour show.
But anyway, Fraser, you're our very own Colin Farrell. Great film. I know we joked about it earlier. They have a bit of eventful time in the city, and you had a nightmare getting there, didn't you? Just very briefly fill us in your travel nightmare.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. Aye, that was a bit of a caper. I certainly wasn't laughing, but yeah, 4 airports just to make a bunny hop over the North Sea. I'd been quicker jumping on my bike. But now, you mentioned Colin Farrell. I don't know if you've seen him in Penguin, but you should see the big flans they're serving up here at the press conference. So I'll end up looking more like Colin Farrell in Penguin if I keep eating them than he does in Bruges. But aye.
Should he joke about bikes, Fraser? You can easily get run over there and he'll get wiped out about 4 times.
That is incredible. Same happened to me earlier on. Not just saying that. It clipped my arm. Yep. Beautiful city though, eh? It's pure Hansel and Gretel stuff over here. It's like a fairy tale. Really beautiful place.
But in all seriousness, will it be smoother for Hearts on the park than it was you getting there?
Oh, look, they'll certainly fancy their chances. Like the big thing here is that they've got 6 points in the bag already for 3 games. And another win would, without doubt, seal a playoff spot, but also put them in a great position to actually grab one of the automatic last 16 berths. And who would have thought that at the outset of this competition? So, look, Hearts' performances in Europe have really kind of betrayed their league form back home. The Belgians are in just as precarious a position over here. They're third from the bottom, also haven't won in the last 3 outings. So, look, a big thing also is that Cercle are missing Kevin Denke.
I read that earlier in your piece, yeah.
It's suspended for getting sent off against Lask in the last game in this competition. He was Belgium's top scorer last season with 28 goals, and he's just agreed a $16 million move to FC Cincinnati. That will go through next month. That is a record, an MLS record signing. So that is a huge, huge blow to Cercle. We spoke to their manager oh my word, I've forgotten his name now. 2 hours ago, what a character he is! Such a character, I forgot his name. Anyway, and he says it's up to the rest of his team to step up and fill the void. But he admitted that nobody can replace him like for like. They're going to have to look elsewhere for the goals tomorrow night. So a real opportunity for Hearts here.
Yeah, Miron Muslic, is that it?
Miron Muslic, that's it. Apologies, Miron. Such a great guy as well. Swan, am I right in saying he was out in the Bruges City Centre with Kelly fans before Kelly played here?
It was indeed, yes. He was high-fiving and messing about with the Kelly fans. He was having a great time.
Honestly, some of his language was really choice in the presser there. It was incredible stuff.
He's a very colourful character and quite eccentric, which was unlike his team. Because his team, when they played Kilmarnock, to me, were pretty functional. I actually expected a bit more. I thought they would be a bit better than they are. And I don't mean to take anything away from Kilmarnock, because obviously knocked Kilmarnock out, but it took a massive mistake from Kilmarnock in that Jan Bredel Stadium there for Bruges to beat them. And it was due to Park. And I expected more. Now, it was early in the season for both teams, and maybe they weren't up to speed as the way you would hope. But I don't think there was anything I saw from Cercle Brugge. It was 3 months ago, granted. I didn't see anything for Hearts to fear. And they weren't particularly, it's a nice arena, it's nice and compact, but it wasn't fearsome. Now, it might be different with Club Brugge. It wasn't completely full for Cercle Brugge. They're obviously a smaller club.
Swanee, they're only expecting 8,000.
Yeah,
3,000 of those are Hearts fans. Only 5,000 home fans are expecting tomorrow. Yeah,
and that the Kelly fans packed out that stand up to your, the one that'll be just up to your left as you're looking, Fraser. The Hearts fans, I'm sure, will pack that out as well. So it's not an intimidating place, and I think if Hearts can get a foothold in the game early, from what I saw from Cercle Brugge, they've got every chance of getting a result.
Fraser, but I was going to touch on this with Andy when he joins us later. Rangers and Hearts, maybe in similar situations, they've both done well in Europe, toiling, recently in the league. Hibs pick up that point against Aberdeen, a thrilling game on Tuesday night. Obviously, what an end to that game. Don't know if you caught any of that. But now levelling points, but, Europe almost in many ways a bit of a distraction. It's, they've got to get back to winning ways domestically.
Sorry, I only laughed there because I was running from airport to airport, so not that chance I caught any of that. It's kind of shaping up, isn't it, to be a bit of a capital fight to the death in the Premiership at the moment, down the bottom, which is incredible, really, when you look at the squads and the investment. No, I was asked the same question by Daniel ahead of the opening game against Dinamo Minsk here, but Hearts have a real opportunity to go further in Europe than they've done for decades here. It's there for them, it's on a plate for them, so I don't think it's a distraction at all. There's serious money to be made here as well, and as I say, they have made a good start. So no, I think they've got a big squad. I think doing well in Europe can only help build momentum back home as well. I definitely don't go along with that distraction.
I suppose it's different, and Neil Critchley's new to the job. The point I was going to be making to Andy later was, does it really matter what Rangers do tomorrow night, even if they win against Nice? Does it change the bigger picture surrounding Philippe Clement? Probably not. Neil Critchley's in a different boat, I suppose, because he's just starting out. It's not as if they're going to be calling for his head at this early stage.
Hearts fans have really bought into Critchley's style of football, which implemented immediately. It was incredible. For the first game, when they hammered St Mirren 4-0, and then went on and beat Ammonia in this competition a couple of days after that. High pressing, really high energy. The intensity is incredible. It stood out like a sore thumb immediately it came in. The thing is, the last 3 games they've lost have all followed a pattern. Now, they've had games against Heidenheim, away to Rangers, and home to Celtic at the weekend. They've all followed a pattern where they've pressed and they've ran their legs almost empty in the first half, and not taking their chances and being made to pay big time in the second half. They could have been 2-0 ahead against Celtic the weekend if Shankland and Blair Spittle had their shooting boots on. And you know what happens if you don't take your chances against Celtic, then it does come back to bite you. So they need, they will get chances here tomorrow night. I'm certain of that. They need to take them.
Yeah. Okay, Fraser, we won't keep you much longer. I know you're going, but just wanted to finally say, off the part, a bold and interesting appointment in Shelley Kerr, Technical Development Manager, ex-Scotland Women's Team Manager, of course. She was named today. But if you've got the qualifications, which she has, you know, you've got the experience, albeit in the women's game, should gender really be an issue?
No, absolutely not at all. I think we're all well versed with Shelley Kerr from our punditry duties up here, but she's been busy the last couple of years. You know, she obviously took Scotland to the World Cup, but the last couple of years she's been working down south with the English FA, and it's very highly thought of in coaching circles. She's got her A licence, hasn't she? Her pro licence even.
Yeah.
So look, Graham Jones is really kind of. He only started officially last week in his job as a sporting director, but he's really kind of taken a grasp of shaking up parts of his football structure here. Shelley Kerr, he was instrumental in bringing in Shelley Kerr. She's going to be looking to smooth the pathway for the B team to the first team. We've already seen the likes Adam Forrester come in and make an impact at right back. James Wilson scored a couple of important goals coming off the bench up front. Two really young guys. James Wilson's still at school, for goodness sake. But look, Graham Jones said that Kerr was the ideal candidate to kind of speed up the Jam Tarts production line. So I suppose the proof will be in the pudding, as I say.
Great, Fraser. We'll let you get on with your work then tonight. Enjoy your night out tonight and the game tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, lads. Good luck.
Roger, Bikes.
Craig, just to go back to Club Brugge for a minute, they've won 5 of the last 6. They did beat Aston Villa. I know it was a bit of a comical penalty that they got, sitting second in the table. I was reading a bit about their manager 3 years ago. He's only 44 years of age. 3 years ago, he was managing the Welsh Premier League, and then he got his chance to replace Ronnie Dyla, of all people, at Club Brugge. But he seems to have really been doing a decent job with them. They won 7-0 at the weekend as well.
Yeah, well, it's a popular trend, isn't it, these days, to go for younger coaches with fresher ideas in various countries in Europe, and this is obviously a path that Club Brugge thought was worth following with Nicky Hayden. And I mean, they don't seem to have lost much from his appointment. As you say, 7 goals at the weekend. Spoke very confidently last night, very assured in the way he was speaking when he dealt with the media before the game here last night. So. Yeah, I think it's just it's a modern way. We're seeing more and more different ways, different angles, different aspects that people are looking at when they're looking for coaches and managers now. So whereas it might have been a huge surprise to see that sort of ascent maybe 10, 20 years ago, it's probably not as much of a shock now, but he seems to be dealing with it very well anyway, and Brendan Rodgers spoke well about him yesterday too.
And there's no doubt who's got the best trip or the best assignment this week, Andy, judging by the short sleeves and that lovely backdrop there. We've got Swan shivering away here in the East End of Glasgow. You just missed Fraser there, who's away to do some work.
To be honest, it's not much warmer here, but I've just had to do a big trek, about a half an hour's trek from the Nice training ground to make it to the stadium, because for some reason we can't get a taxi, so forgive a wee bit of head sweat here, and I've taken my jacket off just to cool down a wee bit, but it's not too warm, about 14, 15 degrees, so it'll get a wee bit chillier as the sun goes down, so there we go.
Good. So there'll be no need for a taxi receipt into the stadium, that's fine.
Don't give the game away, Gav, come on, you know better.
Anyway, Andy, an away game. What's that?
Don't pull back the curtain.
Anyway, it's an away game in Europe, so Rangers unbeaten in the last 5 visits to France. And I think I read this morning this will be 7 undefeated away in Europe. Is that right? That will equal Steven Gerrard's record if they avoid defeat tomorrow. So what, is that what you see happening?
Perhaps not. I mean, obviously we saw what Lyon did to this Rangers team. This is a Nice team that are sitting a couple of points above Lyon in the Ligue 1 table. So I'm not sure I would be utterly confident. I can see it being a difficult night for Luke Clement's team tomorrow. I mean, what you have to say is that they have saved their best performance in Europe, and the players that they've got available are perhaps better suited to play that counter-attacking style where there's plenty of space on the transitions that they can exploit. But just the way the confidence levels at Ibrox right now are so low that you've got to say it would take a pretty special performance and something to buck the trend really in terms of just how the last few weeks have gone. Obviously, yeah, as we say, Europe's been where they've enjoyed their best form, but there just seems to be such a dark cloud over the club right now that you find it hard to see them getting much tonight, tomorrow night.
But that's what I was going to say, Andy, because you talk about that dark cloud, you know, after the result of the weekend, 11 points behind in the Premiership table. Do you think even if they did pull a result out, whether it's a draw or even a win, is it going to change anything in terms of the general feeling towards Philip Clement, or is it too far gone?
I think most supporters have now made their minds up as far as the manager's concerned. This is a downturn that hasn't just been this season. This is you can really stretch all this back to that Motherwell game. When was that? Last sort of March, April time. When obviously they were banging contention to win a league title that they really should have no right to be winning, given where they were at the start of the season. When Philippe Clement came in, he obviously had that huge bounce, managed to turn things around, get the team playing, performing as well, playing some decent stuff, and then the wheels just come off. They obviously lose at home at Motherwell. They then have that mental rollercoaster Old Firm game where they managed to battle back to salvage a draw, but then they have the two games away to Ross County, away to Dundee, and they throw away their shot at winning a title. And really since then, things have just continued in this downward trajectory. So I think most fans have come to the conclusion, they've made their minds up where the manager's concerned, and they've decided that they'll not have them. We saw obviously these wild social media rumours at the weekend, but I think you saw once we were able to confirm that the manager wouldn't be leaving his job, there was such a huge reaction from supporters thinking that he should go, the time's up for him. So listen, a result tomorrow, it might buy him a wee bit more time. I still don't think his fate's going to be decided until Patrick Stewart comes in the day after the Premier Sports Cup final. So I think he might limp on for another few weeks yet, but I think you just need to speak to supporters to realise how they're feeling about him. And I think when it gets to that stage, usually directors aren't too far behind, because they know if they don't sack the manager, they're the next ones in the firing line.
Yeah, and Conor Barron, I know he was put up to speak to the media yesterday. He backed the manager. You would expect that. I suppose Jamie Thompson from Yoker got in touch. I'm not surprised that these Rangers players are standing behind Clement. Most of the flack is aimed at Clement, but if these same Rangers players play the same rubbish and lose on Thursday to Nice, then supporters will turn on them. Standard of football Ibrox is shocking, worst I've seen in years. So yeah, how much responsibility do the players have to take, Andy? I know it's the manager that ultimately ends up losing his job, but do you think these players could be doing more? Do you think they are behind the manager? I know they've got to say that. Listen,
there's certainly players there that you look at and you go, there's been a rapid drop-off in form. I mean, I know James Tavernier's had a lot of stick as a captain. I think you've got to look at a guy that's 33, and I think for a couple of years now, there's been signs that he's past his peak and is now on the sort of the downward trajectory back towards the end of his career. So other guys, I look at Mohamed Diamandi, so much expected of him when he comes in last January, £4.5 million they spent on him, and he was absolutely a mile off the pace at the weekend. And I think somebody like him, you can go, well, what's happened there? Because when he first came in, he gets those couple of goals against Hearts, against St Johnstone, and he looks like this going to be a real find. And there's been spells where he has looked like a real prospect, but his form's sort of vanished. And a few others as well. Cyril Dessers, we know how erratic he can be, but again at the weekend he was, I can have absolutely no complaints about the decision to take him off after 45 minutes. So can some of the players do better? Undoubtedly, yeah. But I think I've also seen that for all of these players, this is just a level, and that takes you back to the number one problem at Rangers. The recruitment over the last number of years has been well short of where it has to be. A lot of money spent and for very little return. So, I think, listen, there's a lot of culprits that need to bear responsibility for where Rangers are right now. It's not as easy to say it's one guy or one group of players. There's at every department, at every level of the club, there's people that bear responsibility, and that's why the club's desperate for change, desperate for somebody to come in and give it that direction and that a bit of foresight of where it wants to go.
Yeah, fans will start voting with their feet. Stephen O'Hearn from Dumbarton got in touch. He was mentioning John McGinn, who pointed out in an interview the other night about he highlighted the empty seats. John McGinn was correct in highlighting empty seats at Ibrox, and it's now no longer a case of we are the people rather than where are the people. I think after Rangers lose the League Cup final, Patrick Stewart, the new chief executive we referred to there, will immediately jettison, come on and bring in a Rangers man and Derek McInnes, and doing so try to win over the dwindling support. So That is a crucial point, is it? If there's empty seats there and there's apathy, I know we've mentioned this before, but actually apathy is worse than anger when fans just can't be bothered. We've seen it before on both sides of the Old Firm divide. When things aren't going well, once fans just can't be bothered and they don't even bother protesting, the board, as you say, start to take note.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like, we saw it at Celtic a few years ago with Ronnie Dyler when they had to sort of shot that top tier at Parkhead. At the end of the day, Rangers are run as a business, and if the customers aren't coming through the door, aren't turning up, aren't filling the coffers every week, that's alarming. So, the club's already got enough to worry about. A £17 million loss this year. What they can't have is tickets going unsold, is merchandise going unsold, and not bringing in the revenue that is so desperately required to get this club back to where it thinks it should be. So, that's, again, you're absolutely right. When it comes to apathy, when punters aren't turning up, that's the biggest danger sign of all. So this is why the club is desperate to get some new direction in, get some new people to run it, to shape where it's going. So we'll have to see what happens when Patrick Stewart comes in on December the 16th. But there's still a few big games in the meantime, and just what state the club is in by the time he takes over. That's the real interesting thing, because it's bad right now. But if things go the way that we suspect they might go against perhaps here tomorrow night, Spurs at home, Celtic in the cup final, especially Celtic in the cup final, then things could really turn bleak, and then it's a much harder job to get back from that position.
Yeah, Rangers were obviously much improved in the second half against Dundee United. They couldn't have been much worse. Couldn't have been any worse. And but two of the main reasons for the turnaround after the break was the introduction of Yanis Hadji and Danilo. But neither of them are in the European squad, of course, so can't play tomorrow night. How much of frustration is that going to be? Because fans will be a clamour for those to start going forward now.
I think it's a blow, obviously, because they're two very good players. You definitely saw the influence they had on just how much a better performance it was in the second half. Kadji's a guy that's got craft, he's got imagination, they can open up defences, and Danilo, for me, maybe not a much more convincing finisher than Cyril Dessers, but just in general build-up, he offers so much more, better movement, a tighter touch, clever link-up play. But what I would say is that, I don't think Rangers are really going to be faced with, points in the game where they're going to have 10 guys behind the ball and they're going to have to break them down. They're going to be trying to, win tackles, win intercepts, and counter-attacking these. That's what got them a goal in Olympiacos in Athens earlier this month. It's what did for them, helped them in Malmo. So I think they've got, in terms of the guys that are available, legs and guys who can get about the pitch and can put themselves about and win those intercepts, but they have to be a bang at it. What we can't have is another wasted 45 minutes like you saw at the weekend. I mean that first 45 minutes against Dundee United is as bad as I can remember in a long time from a Rangers performance. I mean, you're talking going back to Warburton, Kashinya, Graham Murray levels of performance. It was that far off it.
Yeah. Craig, just to go back to you for a wee second, talking about the team tonight, I know the guy spoke about Bernardo and Engels. I mean, Alex Valle will probably come in at left back, you would assume. Greg Taylor getting a lot of criticism for his performance against Hearts at Tynecastle at the weekend. Obviously, the whole thing going on with his contract. Unfair on Greg Taylor, do you think? Does he get a lot of unfair flack?
Yeah, massively. I think Greg Taylor's a massive part of how the Celtic team plays under Brendan Rodgers, the way that, and I think in the Leipzig game, it was pretty evident the way he was able to come in field and make an extra body. He knew when to do it. It was very, very important to the way Celtic play, and I think he understands the system. He's been a great servant and a big part to play under Ange Postecoglou. The big criticism of him under Postecoglou was always the argument, Champions League class, there's no Champions League class defensively, etc., etc. And that's maybe fair enough. If you come up against the best, he's not going to be able to cope. That's not a criticism. If you're coming up against Vinicius Junior and guys like that, then you might struggle. But some of the flack he gets is scandalous. It's nowhere near, some of the criticism that he should get. He's a very, very important figure in the dressing room as well. He's one of the senior voices in there now. As I say, I think he makes a big difference. He was criticised for his performance at Tynecastle. was actually periods of the when Celtic started to come into the game with him stepping into midfield was what helped solve Celtic's problem in the game. When Hearts had started the game pretty well, he was had a big part to play and help him turn it round into Celtic's favour. So yeah, I think he gets massive unfair criticism. Greg Taylor, don't think he deserves it.
Okay, and just before you go, Craig, prediction for tonight. I think a lot of us went for 2-1, didn't we, in the paper? Andy, you went 2-1. I went 2-1. Craig, you've gone 3-2, so you're going for goals.
Yeah, I think it's two teams that can. Well, listen, the proof's in the pudding, to use Fraser Wilson's terminology. They scored 7 at the weekend. Celtic can score goals for fun as well. I think it could be open enough. I think there's two teams that, Brugge in a position where a win for them tonight would be massive for them in terms of the table as well. Celtic have everything to shoot for, as we spoke about. I think there can be a wee bit of comfort in Celtic as they play. They might be able to relax and really open up, play some good stuff. But both are capable of scoring, and I think both will score. And I think Celtic will edge a thriller, high-scoring thriller.
Great. Okay, Craig, we'll let you get along and enjoy the game. Andy, can I just, before you go, you were at the Nice press conference earlier today, weren't you? I know the manager was rushed to hospital after the win over Strasbourg at the weekend. Yep. Severe headaches, isn't he? But he was fine today. And what can you tell us about them? They're 8 unbeaten in the French league, I think, but no wins yet in the Europa League. So it's a big one for him.
Yeah, he's feeling much better, thankfully. It was good to see him. He was in good form today. I think it was some sort of blood pressure and migraine issues, so he's on the mend, thankfully. Yeah, I mean, basically, they're sort of exact reverse of Rangers. They're doing quite well in domestically. They're unbeaten. I think they're up to 5th now. They've just beat Champions League high flyers Monaco and Brest. But when it comes to Europe, they've got 2 draws and they're struggling. Obviously, Frank Hoyze, I think it's how you pronounce it, was saying today that he's hoping that this isn't a must-win game. They don't need to take all 12 points from the 4 remaining games, but I think they need to get a move on. Obviously the qualifying benchmark is sort of 9-10 points. We think that they're a long way off that yet, so it's a big game for them tomorrow. If any Rangers were hoping that there would be any sort of lack of motivation in their part, I think they'll be sadly disappointed. But they've got a few injury issues. They've got a few doubts, a couple of suspensions. Dante, their skipper, I was unsure if he was going to train or not today. He hadn't trained a couple of times this week, so he's a big influence. Obviously, having been at Bayern Munich before, so I think they're a team that are going places. Obviously, backed by Ineos, so Jim Radcliffe, obviously new Manchester United sort of power broker. What they haven't really done is achieve real lasting success here yet. I mean, there's a lot of similarities to Rangers in the sense that they've spent a lot of money, £250 million over the last 5 years since Ineos took over. But it's not really brought much success. I think they've had a couple of 5th place finishes in a row. They made a French Cup final, but no silverware yet. Not qualified for the Champions League, which was their primary aim. And they've been burning through managers, just like Rangers have been. So, there's similarities to be drawn there, but this is a big game for them tomorrow night, and if they can get a result, they'll put them right in the mix for qualifying. Listen, if Rangers can get a result, that's them pretty much done and dusted. That'll be them in 10 points, and we'll expect that to be enough to make the knockout. So, big game for both teams, but we'll need to see how it pans out.
What I thought, Celtic, Hearts, and Rangers all through by the end of the week.
Yeah, well, that's a great point.
Don't bother clipping that up.
That's a great positive note to end on, and apart from anything else, we can only just about make you out, Andy. That light is fading
light, which is appropriate in so many ways. There we go.
It's a fading light. But so thanks for joining us. I'll let you get away, Andy, to speak to Philip. Come on, see what he's got to say, and don't forget to keep up to date with all the live action tonight from Celtic Park on dailyrecord.co.uk, and read what Craig and Andy have got to say in tomorrow's paper. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Gavin.
Cheers.